Good afternoon, everyone. We're bringing you live today that there will be no federal charges in the Shanquella Robinson case that will be brought in by federal prosecutors. As we know, we've been following this story. Wednesday, the federal prosecutors will not file criminal charges in the death of Shanquella Robinson. Shanquella died on October 29th while on a trip with friends in Cabo. Questions about Charlotte native's death emerged soon after and only intensified after a video surfaced showing Robinson visibly drunk, involved in a fight where she was violently beaten. Soon after the video emerged, Mexican authorities said Robinson died of a cracked spine and later brought charges against one of her friends. The United States has not extradited the person in Robinson's death. Let's pull up this article here, share our screen with this regarding Shanquella Robinson. Okay, let's see. All right, let's pull this up here so you can see here. All right. In a statement announcing no U.S. charges, the United States Attorney General Dana King and the FBI said there was not enough evidence of wrongdoing in the issue to issue criminal charges in the case. Based on the results of the autopsy and after careful deliberation, a review of the investigative materials by both U.S. Attorney's Office and federal prosecutors informed Ms. Robinson's family today that the available evidence does not support a federal prosecution. The family met with King and investigators from the FBI late Wednesday morning. The family is expected to hold a press conference this afternoon. Okay. So we don't know whether or not, and hopefully there'll be some clarification on this, is that Shanquella Robinson still might be extradited. We don't know what the Mexican side of this is doing. However, we do know that the United States government will not be pressing federal charges against any of the parties involved. It is unfortunate. However, the crime did happen in Mexico, so that might have something to do with that. We don't know whether or not Biden can come in and ask the FBI to look at other possible charges. But as of now, the U.S. prosecution, the FBI, will not be pressing charges. Like I stated, the statement that came from the U.S. attorneys, Dana King and the FBI, stated, based on the results of the autopsy and after a careful deliberation and review of the investigative materials by both the U.S. attorney's offices, federal prosecutors informed Ms. Robinson family today that the available evidence does not support the federal prosecution. Again, like I stated, the crime happened in Mexico. We don't know whether there will be other options. We encourage everyone to go to the U.S. Attorney's General site or federal officers and request that they press. Yes, absolutely, Ina. Yes, she is the victim. She was the victim, and there needs to be justice for Shanquella. And we don't know exactly how that's going to look, if we're going to see justice for Shanquella. But we're trying to pull up the live press conference of Shanquella Robinson family. Let's see. I'm trying to find the press conference so we can go in on that and watch that. Hopefully, they stated that they were giving it at 4:30 today. However, we're not seeing a press conference come across for us. Okay. So it is very, 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 very unfortunate that there is nothing that can come from the U.S. side. However, as stated before, the crime did happen in Mexico. So we can only put pressure on the White House, put pressure on the different governmental offices in hopes that they will press charges or something on our side. We don't know whether technically the investigation is closed because as of now, they're saying there's not enough evidence. And it's a tricky situation. It's not like the crime happened here in the United States. It happened in Mexico. So it is very different. If the crime had happened here, evidently there was no evidence that supported that they planned the crime here. But there's no evidence to show that they planned the crime here. So with the lack of that evidence, the U.S. government hands is pretty much tied because they have nothing else. You know, they can't show any evidence of a crime. And, you know, we know that Shanquella was unalived by her friends, but what can the U.S. government do? There's nothing. Their hands are tied because the incident did not happen here on U.S. soil. So anyway, this is a breaking news update. We encourage you to contact the White House. Let me get the information to the White House so you can send your correspondence. Of course, you can contact them through social media. I'm going to put a link in here so you can send your correspondence here to the White House to request that there be something done. Okay. But anyway, everyone, we are, breaking this news. It is very unfortunate. We pray that Shanquella receives justice. However, it does not appear that it's going to happen here in the United States because of the fact that. So let's play this clip here.
More breaking news now at noon, just into the newsroom. Federal prosecutors will not bring charges in the death of Shanquella Robinson. That announcement coming just minutes after federal authorities met with Robinson's family at the Charlotte FBI headquarters. In a statement from the U.S. Attorney and the FBI, the Fed said there was not enough evidence to bring charges. Robinson died in October last year while on a trip to Mexico with friends. WBTV reporter Brandon Hamilton is at FBI headquarters. You just heard from him minutes ago. He will be at a news conference with Robinson's family set to start at 1:30 this afternoon. That news conference will stream live across platforms, WBTV's platforms, including our news app and the WBTV Facebook page. We're posting the latest right now. You may have just gotten alerted on your this story and this breaking news that no charges will be filed. Again, you can continue to follow along the app and
Okay, so we see that. Let's see if we're going to definitely try to pull up this news conference. And hopefully we can pull this up. But let's see, watch live. Let's see if they got something going here. Okay, that's not it. Well, anyway, We're going to bring you back to the news conference from the family. Again, I put the link in the chat for you to contact the White House. Don't let her death be in vain. Do what you can as far as sending the information. Okay, here we go. Let's watch this news conference here. Okay, this is from the NC Beat. This is the family of Shanquella Robinson, the news conference.
Good morning. Is everyone ready? Yeah, thank you for your patience. Obviously, this has been a long journey thus far to getting justice for Shanquella Robinson. Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Justice for Shanquella Robinson. I'm attorney Ben Crump, along with my law partner, attorney Sue Ann Robinson. We have the honor of being joined by the queen of the movement, Tamika Mallory, and Until Freedom, with Professor Angelo Pina and my son, the General. We are so grateful that Until Freedom never stopped fighting for Miss Robinson, never. Even when everybody seemed to sweep it under the rug, they stayed the course. Also, we have present with us the NAACP president here in Washington, Akusa, and we have Mario Blunt from Million Youth March of Charlotte, North Carolina, where Shanquella Robinson hailed from. But most important, we have present with us her sister, Quila Long, and her mother, Miss Robinson. You can only imagine what she has endured in these 18 weeks. You can only imagine. And so she's not alone. We're standing with her, and we will never, ever leave her pursuit for justice because Shanquella matters. That's right. Yes. That's right. That's right. And so let's give you just a little background of what got us here today. And I'm so grateful to Attorney Robinson for going above and beyond for Justice Roland Martin. I mean, my law partner did things that make her heroic, not just as a lawyer, but as a strong black woman who sees the humanity in Shanquella Robinson as possibly somebody who could be her own flesh and blood. That's what humanity requires. So thank you, Attorney Sue Ann Robinson, from the bottom of my heart. Shanquella, as we know, was 25 years old. She was from Charlotte, North Carolina. Her date of death is October 29th, 2022. She was reported dead on October 29th. Her mom, Miss Robinson, is here. I told you her sister, Quilla Long, is here. It's important to know that Shanquella Robinson graduated from Winston-Salem State University, a great historically black college and university in North Carolina. She was a hairstylist. She owned a clothing boutique. She worked for an insurance agency. And as Tamika Mallory and I just marveled at how wonderful of a person she was, she also braided little black girls' hair. That was her profession. That's what she did every day, all day. And obviously she was an influencer on social media. It has been 126 days since she died. That's 18 weeks. Wow. Video footage of her being beaten literally to death was released on November 16, 2022, 108 days ago. 15 weeks and 3 days, and still, with all this visual evidence, nobody has been arrested.
That's right. That's right.
Nobody has been arrested. And as my son, the general, always talks about, Black lives matter, our Black children lives matter. And people always try to say, well, you all don't show up when Black people get killed by other Black people. You only show up if a white police officer get killing a Black person. No, that's not it. Oftentimes we can't get the media to cover it. But my son, Until Freedom, our law firm, we have been showing up when Black people get killed unjustly, whether it's a white person who killed them or it's a Black person who killed them. Because Shanquella Robinson, life matters.
That's right.
Shanquella Robinson, life matters.
Yes.
Shanquella Robinson, life matters. Shanquella Robinson, life matters. Shanquella Robinson, life matters. Shanquella Robinson, life matters. In the video, a woman who was identified by witness as Dajanay Jackson is seen brutally beating Shanquella Robinson while she is stark naked. I argue it's just as bad to Tamika Mallory or worse than how they beat Tyree Nichols to death.
That's right.
I mean, you look at those videos, they are both horrific, inhumane.
Yes.
The travel mates who went to Mexico with her, I mean, you talking about adding insult to injury. Sabina, the travel mates returned from Mexico to the United States and told Miss Robinson she died of alcohol poisoning. They failed to mention the fight or what we saw in that video rolling more, and that Shanquella Robinson had a head injury, that she was attacked, that they were joking about it, texting about what happened in the aftermath of the tragedy. But they never mentioned that to Miss Robinson. We are asking for high level of diplomatic intervention from the President of the United States and the State Department to do what is necessary to bring the person or the people who are responsible for the murder of Shanquella Robinson to justice.
Yes.
Let me repeat that again. We are asking for high-level intervention, diplomatic intervention from the President of the United States and the State Department to do whatever is necessary to bring justice to Shanquella Robinson by the person or the persons responsible for her death. It's not a hard act. When you look at that video, it is not a hard act. And when you think about when white women go missing, it's not a hard act. My colleagues will get more into that later. Now, the family retained us, and my law partner, Sue Ann Robinson, as I said, she went above and beyond. The family asked her, and she went on a fact-finding mission to Mexico on their behalf after being advised by us that the Mexican authorities were not doing their job. That's what the U.S. said. The Mexican authorities were not doing their job in regards to investigating this crime. And so, you know, for black people to get justice often in America and certainly abroad, we have to go above and beyond. And Sue Ann Robinson went above and beyond. I mean, this sister, she went down to Mexico for a week. I mean, had threats to her safety. She's a mother of two beautiful little girls, but she saw that she could not justify staying safe and playing it safe while Miss Robinson's daughter had been killed. So Sue Ann Robinson deserves all the credit in the world for going down there and getting the evidence necessary for us to come here today and to say to the department that it is clear Mexico has advised that their investigation is complete. They have identified a suspect. That suspect is currently out free in the United States of America.
That's right.
And that is not right that the suspects and the people involved are sleeping comfortably in their own beds at night. If they are guilty of a crime, then the United States government should do one or two things. One, they should either extradite the person who murdered Shanquella Robinson to Mexico to face the charges and the crimes that have been alleged against her. Or two, they should take jurisdiction. Mexico is willing to give jurisdiction to the United States to bring a case for those responsible for killing Shanquella Robinson to justice. And the only question is, State Department, President Biden, what are you going to do to bring justice for this broken-hearted family, especially this mother of Shanquella Robinson? It's not a hard act.
That's right.
Either extradite the killer or take jurisdiction so you can prosecute the killer.
That's right.
It's simple. And so my co-counsel is going to go into details with you, and then you're going to hear a couple of people, especially my sister Tamika Mallory, who is going to make the case even more plain, because we can't have different justice systems depending on the ethnicity of the victim. We can't have one set of justice for white women and another set of justice for black women. We got to have one justice system for the United States of America. And so that's why Attorney Robinson deserves just so much credit for going to get the evidence that is necessary for us to now make the case for justice for Shanquella Robinson. Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Now you're going to hear from my partner, Attorney Sue Ann Robinson. Y'all give her a big round of applause. This sister here, I'm so proud to work with.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I want to first and publicly, which I do every day, thank Mrs. Robinson and Quilla for putting their shoulder to the plow to seek justice on behalf of Shanquella Robinson. I'm thanking them for doing something that so often only Black and brown families have to do. They have to grieve their loved one. They have to adjust to normalize their life with the loss of their loved one. And at the same time, they have to become part of a movement, part of a club that no one asked to be in. They have to beg for dignity and respect in death. They have to seek justice on behalf of their loved ones. They don't have the privacy to grieve and do those things in private. So I want to thank them publicly for turning their pain into purpose.
Yeah, that's right.
And for giving me the honor of assisting in their case. We've been doing this for a very long time. Black women have been having to come to the front line against oppression because of our intersectionality. We're Black and we're female. And so based on that alone, we have a unique set of oppressions we have to deal with and fight against since Mamie Till. And I stand today on her shoulders, on the shoulders of all the Black women who have to grieve publicly in order to push the most important work of our time forward, which is that we would receive equal treatment, that we would also receive equal justice under the laws of the country that we're born in. Shanquella was a beautiful, adventurous entrepreneur. Unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity to know her in life. But getting to know her in death has changed my life. And no one should have to suffer the indignities that she did. We deserve to live peaceful lives, enjoy vacations, and die old, peaceful deaths. Being on the ground in Mexico on a fact-finding mission was surreal. I'm an attorney. I went to law school. I know what the laws are. I'm a former prosecutor. I know what the Department of Justice can do if someone flees from justice. So for me, on behalf of this family, to have to physically go and seek justice on their behalf was unreal. In another country, with another language. Going to those places, going to the police station, going to the Attorney General's office, going to the Mexican Red Cross, going to the office of the doctor that attended to her, going to the actual villa and the places where she walked, where she spent her last moments, trying to find answers for this family was absolutely unreal. Nobody should have to do that for something that is equal and fair. They're not asking for anything special. They're not asking for anything unique. They're asking for their government to intervene in a case and take jurisdiction for a crime that we all saw unfold on video.
That's correct. My Lord. Yes.
The most important thing from the case going to Mexico, I learned two things. One, that Quilla and Mrs. Robinson are creating their own path to find justice in an international case, because there isn't a path to get information, to find out what's happening on your case, to find out what happened to your loved one. There is no such path. They are creating the path. And number two, most importantly, because they were being ping-ponged between the U.S. authorities and Mexican authorities, they got sick of it. No one was returning their phone calls. Mexican authorities confirmed that they have completed their investigation. We've had the opportunity to review some of the packet, and it has been sent. The ball is clearly in the United States court. The State Department, the Department of Justice, the ball is in your court.
That's right.
Do what you have to do. In Mexico, we went to the U.S. consulate, who is supposed to be the liaison and the protection for American citizens abroad. We got no such warm greeting. We got no such constitutional rights. We got no such assistance, liaison information. In fact, we were almost impeded and advised that if the family needed more information, they should talk to the 6 travel mates that went to Cabo with Shanquella.
Outrageous.
Who was the accessories to the murder.
Outrageous.
The level of disrespect to Shanquella Robinson's dignity, even in death, is unreal. We had to go ourselves to the Attorney General, explain to them, hey, we're not just trying to show up here. We tried to follow the protocol, but we're not going to leave without any information. And we were assisted by the Mexican authorities, who advised The ball is in your court. We've sent everything over to Interpol. We've sent everything over to the FBI. I haven't been advised of that by the State Department here at all. Have you guys been told that? No. Okay. The issue now is that there has to be a high level of diplomatic intervention. And I say high level to be tongue-in-cheek because, to be honest, the highest level is right here. That's why we're here.
That's right.
President Biden, the head of the Department of Justice, the State Department, you've all got calls from our office.
Yes, sir. And letters.
And no answers. You've got letters. Let's do what's right by Shanquella Robinson, and let's always do what's right by Black women.
Yes. That's right.
I work every single day in what I call the most important work of our time, because I would like this job to become obsolete. I would like to have to stop coming before the press and begging for dignity and respect on behalf of my Black clients. Put us out of business, please. President Biden, Department of Justice, State Department, International Affairs, it's on y'all.
That's right.
And we're waiting.
Yes, that's right.
Right here.
Yes.
Until justice is served for this family.
Yes, right. That's right.
Thank you.
Great. Great.
Thank you so much, Attorney Sue Ann Robinson. And it should not be that our office has to step in and try to do the work for the United States Department of Justice or the State Department itself. So heartfelt. I can only imagine you being in the villa after seeing that video. And again, like Attorney Robinson said, Tamika Mallory and Sue Ann Robinson, there have been strong Black women leading this effort. And I think that's important. We have to step up for our people. If nobody else will step up for us, we got to step up for our people. And so my son is never lost on me that they try to say we only show up and show out when it's white people who kill us. No, when anybody kills us unjustly, we stand up for justice. That's right. And so the President of the United States, the State Department, the Justice Department has to do those two things. Either they're going to extradite the killer of Shanquella Robinson, or they're going to take jurisdiction. It is that simple. And we won't take one day off of demanding our allies at the White House or anywhere else that we stand up for Black people getting justice, even if it's inconvenient for you.
That's right.
Even if you think it's a nuisance for you. Well, we don't think Shanquella Robinson was a nuisance. We don't think that she was insignificant. We don't think that she was irrelevant. We don't think that she was inferior. She was a strong, brilliant Black woman, the best that we had to offer the world. And that's why we're going to continue to fight for justice for Shanquella Robinson. And we're so happy that we have all type of organizations, civil rights organizations, standing on the front line with us. I have the honor of having President Kuswa Ali of the Washington chapter of the NAACP come and present to you in this fight for justice. President Ali, thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. Good morning. Again, my name is Akoshua Ali. I am the president of the NAACP Washington, D.C. branch, and I first want to extend our condolences to the family for your loss, and then also thank and commend Attorney Benjamin Crump and his amazing team, and my sister, Tamika Mallory, both of whom have been iconic civil rights leaders continuing to champion this fight for racial equality and justice. As we stand at the beginning of Women's History Month,
That's right.
it is appalling that we have to lift up not only the mantra that Black Lives Matter, but Black women matter. And in this country, we cannot continue to allow the double standard of how Black women are victimized and are undervalued compared to how white women who have also been victimized and murdered, but are championed and glorified by the media, and their lives are valued more. If this country is truly to embody what it stands for, what our ancestors lived for, what our ancestors bled and died for, we have to represent that in all aspects of our systems, our criminal justice systems, our law, and international and diplomatic relations. So I charge you all, as we stand on the shoulders of not only Black women, but all people who have fought for social justice and equality in this country, to use your voice, stand in your power, and demand justice for Shanquella Robinson.
Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Justice for Shanquella Robinson. Justice for
where there's two different justice systems in America. And we know that in ours, we have to fight for our justice. We have to rally for our justice. We have to beg for the same constitutional rights. And Shanquella is doing that even in death. Even in death, she's having to fight for her rights as a U.S. citizen, as a victim of a crime. The U.S. authorities have to understand and have to know that even if for them it's not about Shanquella, that United States citizens cannot go to Mexico, commit a crime that we all saw on a video, and then come back to America and say, we're on base, we're safe, we're not going to be charged with a crime. That cannot be the message that the U.S. authorities want to send. So again, discrepancies caused or discrepancies in the autopsy results between Mexican authorities that we've all been discussing, unfortunately, and not being discussed by the right individuals, have all been caused by delays. If it had been taken serious from the very beginning, if the internet and the people and social media didn't have to create the movement behind the case, and the authorities would have gotten involved the minute the video surfaced, there wouldn't have been a delay. There would have been immediate statements taken from the individuals involved. There would have been time to take an immediate autopsy of the body before it was embalmed. All of those things would have been done, but because it was the death of a young, Black, beautiful, brilliant, educated woman who was on vacation, justice was delayed. There was no investigation done. It was not taken seriously until the people had to say, hey, we're not going to accept that this is just what it is. This can't be just what it is. We see with our own eyes an attack, an assault, a crime happening, and nothing's being done. That came from you all. That came from the people saying, we demand answers. And today we actually ended up with way more questions than answers. And so that's why I'm determined and fully aware, and the team, Ben Crump, Tamika Mallory, Until Freedom, Mario Black, all of us, we stand with this family, and we're going to stand with this family till the very end. And we're going to be in Washington, and we're going to rally because we understand, unfortunately, what the job is, what the work is, and that we have to carve our own path to justice in these cases. And we've seen it time and time again, and I've said it in other press conferences. I would like to be put out of this line of business. I don't want to be here on behalf of another beautiful Black family begging for dignity and respect and basic constitutional rights. I don't want to be doing those things, but that is what it is right now. We have two separate justice systems where one is, if you're a victim of a crime and you look a certain way, it's going to be covered by the media. It's going to be resolved in a certain way. And then we have our cases where we have to have press conferences and rallies, and we have to beg the government to intervene. And that's not okay. And that's why it's the most important work of our time. And so we're disappointed. We're not deterred. We're pressing on. We absolutely will keep you guys updated on everything that we're doing, but we're definitely pushing toward the 200th day to be in D.C. We hope that everyone can join us, because the message cannot be that U.S. citizens can go overseas and commit crimes against other U.S. citizens and come back and say that they're on base, that they're safe, that they're not going to be arrested, that there's going to be such a delay in the investigation that the evidence will have time to dissipate and they'll have time to change their stories or work on the evidence. That can't be the message, because this is the land of the free and the home of the brave, and we have U.S. constitutional rights, and there's victims' rights, and we're going to fight for that. We're going to fight for that whether the victim of the crime is Shanquella or whether it's any black woman. We're going to fight for that because it's deserved. It's our right as U.S. citizens. So I'll have, do you want to speak? Okay. Do you want to speak? Okay. So I can take questions.
You mentioned a delay. Is there any kind of evidence you can share that was shared with you all for the reason of why the government gave a date?
Sure. I said there was a delay, meaning that the video was released on November 16th. So we were advised today that the U.S. authorities didn't begin an investigation until after their own autopsy had been conducted, which would have been well after the video came out. And really the bigger issue is that without the video, before the video even came out, if you all remember, there was a statement released saying no foul play. Before any evidence was even entered, there was a statement made saying, oh, there's no foul play. That statement was never retracted, but because the case was never taken seriously from the beginning, that caused the delay. That caused Mexico to have to do their own autopsy, then the FBI to have to wait for the Robinson family to have the body transported. All of these things should have been done by U.S. federal authorities if they took the case seriously from the beginning. But it wasn't taken seriously from the beginning. The people had to move the case. We had to demand that the case be taken seriously. And those delays are going to cause discrepancies in an investigation. We all watched First 48. Know that time when you're investigating a murder or homicide or any crime, that you have to investigate swiftly. We saw it with the kidnapping case in Mexico. Immediately, the FBI said $50,000 reward. We're moving in. We're coordinating with the Mexican authorities. There was no swift action on this case. There was absolutely no urgency on the part of the U.S. authorities. So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, I guess what discrepancy? Were there any discrepancies that they told you all apart, like the Mexican autopsy?
Oh, okay, sure. So, yeah, absolutely, because it's going to be revealed. It's going to be, the feds are going to release their results of their autopsy, which was done after the body was embalmed and then transported, and they're advising that there isn't a spinal cord injury, that the Mexican autopsy says there's a spinal cord injury, but according to them, there is no spinal cord injury. They're also advising that there's swelling on Shanquella's brain, but that her cause of death is undetermined. So to me, if you are in an investigation, how are you closing an investigation on a case where the cause of death is undetermined, but we all have seen a video showing a brutal attack? That doesn't, it's not giving undetermined. It's giving there's a video and now it's telling us something else, not to believe our own eyes, which is why I invoked George Floyd's case, which is why I said, that was a case where we were being told, don't believe your own eyes. Don't believe that Derek Chauvin has his knee on his neck for 8 minutes. Believe that it's really a heart palpitation or he's having some sort of drug overdose. We see the video. We see what happened. We see that she's being beaten, but we're being told that, the cause of death is undetermined. And that can happen if the autopsies are delayed. That can happen.
There is an arrest warrant out of Mexico. How does the FBI statement today impact that arrest warrant, and did they give you any indication that they will extradite the people who were on that trip for Shanquella?
Right. They've indicated that basically what they're doing is what I've talked about from the beginning, which is ping-ponging. The FBI today said, well, we're not going to press charges, but Mexico could do something if they want to do, and if Mexico wants to do something, then it's no problem. We'll be fully cooperative with anything that Mexico wants to do. So again, as you all know, I went to Mexico, and Mexico said, we've sent everything over to Interpol, we've sent everything to FBI, we've sent all of our documents. We're just awaiting word from U.S. authorities on what needs to be done next. So there's a Department of International Affairs, the Department of State, obviously, who we've contacted and sent a letter to, and they know what needs to be done. And that's what's so frustrating about the case, because it's not something that's without precedence or without a protocol. And so for the United States government and for the FBI today to sit and tell myself, Mrs. Robinson, Quilla, and Mr. Robinson, that there's nothing to be done on their end, they're closing their investigation, and I guess Mexico could do something if they want to, is absolutely absurd. Not just for Shanquella's case, though. It's not absurd just for her case. It's absurd for any person who would be a victim of a crime overseas committed by a U.S. citizen. How can you just say, okay, well, as long as we make it back home, we're not going to get in trouble? That makes no sense. Yes. 1 second. Yes.
Just out of my own curiosity here, you talked about some of the action that might be taking place. Do you pass forward right now? What do you pass forward right now? In an effort for you to get justice in relation to those actions?
Yep.
Maybe you can speak a little bit about state of Washington, but I would also imagine there's also all other stuff right now in Mexico as well. That probably needs to be a lot more communication.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we've been asking for from the beginning, which is a high level of diplomatic intervention. It's going to take more than the local FBI field office in Charlotte, with all due respect to all the work that they do. It's going to take more than that, because there has to be a high level of diplomatic intervention. Heads of state have to talk to heads of state and say, listen, this is what it is, this is what happened, it's on video, we can't have U.S. citizens do, this cannot occur, how are we going to resolve this? There needs to be a result in an amendment to the treaty or whatever has to be done, but it cannot be that you can commit a crime and come back and say you're on base. That can't be the result. So between then and now, we're absolutely preparing for the rally on the 200th day on May 19th, and then we definitely are going to still be beating down doors and asking for our meetings in terms of, the head of the International Affairs Committee and their chair and all of the things that we've been doing. We're still going to continue that. And that's why I say, on behalf of the family, we are deeply disappointed, but we're not deterred. Yes.
I know that Mexico is issuing an arrest warrant, but has Mexico issued a extradition request?
Right. And I think the issue right now, and what I'm kind of alluding to, is that if an extradition request was needed, if that was the one piece that we were all here waiting for, why wouldn't there be a high level of diplomatic intervention to say, hey, there's criminals among us. They're walking around and they hurt someone. Can you get this? There needs to be communication. And the reason why there's no communication is because the case hasn't been taken seriously.
So I guess, to your knowledge, has Mexico issued a formal request for extradition?
Absolutely. Like I said, I was advised by the Attorney General in Baja Sur directly, we have sent everything. They have everything. And remember, for the FBI to conduct their investigation, they've advised us, we're in communication with Mexico. That's how we did our investigation, to say we're not pressing charges. So if they're in communication with Mexico, why isn't part of the communication, hey guys, forgot to drop off the extradition paperwork?
So just to be clear, so Mexico has sent a request for extradition. Has the State Department said that they received it, or have they said?
The State Department has not advised. What I'm saying is, and what I've said since I went to Mexico, which is they have advised all the documents they need to submit have been submitted. So now we're being advised, well, we're not going to press charges in the United States. Maybe Mexico's going to do something. So the point is, if you're having ongoing communication because you're involved in an investigation and you really give a damn, then that's a very simple communication. Hey guys, we're not going to be able to press charges, but you guys go ahead and prepare your extradition paperwork so we can get it sorted out, since there's criminals over here just running around free and it's hurting an American family. That's a very simple communication.
Prior to the update that went out this afternoon, what was the last communication that you had with the U.S. Attorney's Office regarding this case?
The U.S. Attorney's Office in Mexico?
And the U.S.
We were not communicating with the U.S. Attorney's Office in the United States. We were communicating with the FBI and the State Department.
And what was the most recent update you had gotten on the case prior to the one that was released?
Oh, we were all getting the same update, which is we were investigating. Yeah, for the last 5 months.
I know the last time we spoke, you mentioned that you were meeting with White House officials last week, or I believe the April 3rd. Did that meeting happen? What happened in that case? And then from the FBI, I'm trying to get more clarity. What are they saying they need, or what is it that they're saying they're missing? If they're saying, let's go and press charges, we can move on, whatever, but an extradition request has been filed, and the arrest warrant has been filed, what are they saying is a missing piece so they can, move forward with extraditing someone to status?
Okay, so 2 questions. Right. We are still going to White House, and we are still moving towards that, because our belief has always been from the beginning that it's always going to be bigger than the local feds in Charlotte, that it's going to take a high level of diplomatic intervention because heads of state have to talk to heads of state. That's just the bottom line. It's a transnational criminal case, and so it's going to take a little bit more, especially because it involves one of us. Again, I hate to keep repeating that in the Mexican kidnapping case, that was the most swift action ever. So saying to Shanquella's family, oh, we had to look around, it took us a while, we had to wait to get this autopsy result, is absolutely disingenuous, because swift action could have been taken if it was taken seriously from the beginning. And then what was the second part of your question?
What was the missing piece? Well, actually,
Oh, okay.
piggyback off of that. So I know you mentioned you were supposed to meet the week of April 3rd. Are they receptive to meet with you, or are they pushing that behind you?
Well, the issue is everyone is ping-ponging against everyone else. So first, you have to meet with this person in order to meet with this person in order to have a meeting with this. So we have now completed this piece, which again, we're disappointed by what was said today, but we're not deterred. So that's what I'm saying. We're continuing on the same path to the rally on May 19th and to have meetings with heads of state.
So you met with FBI in Charlotte today. Talking about so that they can move forward. I know the extradition request has been.
Okay, so there is not a missing piece. So I don't want there to be a narrative saying that there's a missing piece. There's no missing piece. There's a video. Her cause of death is currently undetermined, and they've advised, based on their own autopsy, that they cannot determine a cause of death for Shanquella. Her autopsy that took place in the United States was done after her body was embalmed, which means that there was a delay, obviously. There's an undetermined cause of death and a video showing her being beaten. So you tell me what the missing piece is.
Well, I guess the question is, if Mexican authorities were saying, hey, here are all the paperwork, requests and so forth, so what would be necessary for them to actually extradite someone?
So I unfortunately am not able to be present for the supposed conversations between Mexican authorities and United States authorities on this particular case, right? I can only say what I was advised. So the Mexican authorities are saying to me, hey, listen, we don't mind giving you our investigative packet. Here it is. This is exactly the documentation that we've already sent to Interpol and the FBI. So then the FBI says, we could do something if Mexico would do something. But do you see how all that does is just create more delay and create all of this, that we have to be here today? that all it would take is for someone at a high level to intervene and say, hey guys, it's an international murder investigation. Let's figure out what needs to be done. If there has to be a meeting, if I need to get on a plane, if I have to go there, if we have to do a Zoom, whatever it is. You'd think on a transnational criminal case that would affect tourism in Mexico, that would affect criminal law, obviously, in the United States in terms of not deterring people from going overseas to commit crimes and then returning back to the United States, that somebody could figure out how to have a meeting for them to communicate. And not to mention the fact that it's being represented to us that there is some sort of communication, because there was communication and documents exchanged for the FBI here to investigate. So it's not that they're saying we don't have communication. So if the missing piece is a document, right? Just like we can talk about it and say, hey, the missing piece is a document, so can they. And they should be. And if they were taking serious, they would have those documents in place. Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about the person that the Mexican authorities has the arrest warrant, and what's the person's name and how they were involved? If it's a friend, a former friend, there is a name that is out there, but I don't know if you've talked to the Mexican authorities about that name and that arrest warrant. Or you need to talk about that person that they want arrested?
Talk about the person?
The arrest warrant. There's a name that's out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you could say the person's name of the arrest warrant and the person that they want extradited.
Okay. So I've said it before, it's not a secret. The Mexican authorities have already identified in their investigation, based on the identification of the aggressor in the video that we all saw, they identified Dejanay Jackson as the aggressor in the case. Yes.
Is civil action a possibility?
Certainly.
And another follow-up, did the FBI give you any indication if they interviewed any of the people who were on that termination clause?
Right. And they did advise that there were interviews conducted. And that's why I say any discrepancies, and I can speak plainly because at this point it's why. If you wait till 5 months after someone committed a crime, I'm not a trained investigator, but I would imagine that the people would have time, if they were involved, allegedly, in a crime, they would have the opportunity and time and space to delete text messages if that's what they wanted to do, to talk to each other about the case, which is why, generally speaking, in investigations, once you know there's an issue, you immediately and swiftly investigate to prevent delays that would prevent discrepancies, that would prevent justice from being served. And so that's why it's so disheartening that the U.S. authorities allowed there to be such a delay in this case. Yes.
I'll take back off your question.
Sure.
It's possible, lawsuit is not out of the realm of possibility, but a lawsuit, especially a civil suit, would create some sort of discovery and potentially knowing what documents were received and what documents were not received. And is your belief, or is it a mission to find out exactly where the ball was dropped? I'm getting the sense of you're feeling like the ball was dropped, but it's not the ball was dropped. There was certainly a lot of bureaucrats that there is a lot of bureaucrats that but you kind of need to send it.
I don't think there is a lot of bureaucratic tape. I think it's pretty simple that in the United States, that when there are black and brown victims of crimes, there is a whole other set of things that have to be done than not. So that's why I said, Ahmaud Arbery's case, Ms. Wanda had to go to the state attorney herself. She had to go hire attorneys. She had to beg these people to investigate a case that in the end, we all know, ended up in convictions, and convictions not just in local court, but also in federal court for civil rights violations. But Ms. Wanda, a black mom, had to push for that. It's not like the justice system said, hey, here's your justice, here's what the course of action is, here's what you need to do. She had to push for that. Sandra Bland's mom had to push for that. In George Floyd's case, their family had to push for those things. And so it's not something that is unexpected. I mean, I would think as a student of the law and as an attorney for 16 years, we could get somewhere with it, but we're not there.
But as far as
there's other ways for us to do that, a similar exploration, and I say sure in terms of a civil lawsuit because it's never outruled, but that's not where we are at in this moment. In this moment, the frustration is, why is there two different systems? That's the frustration. Why do we have to go and think about, oh, let's use a civil remedy and bend ourselves all out of shape for something that's fair, in the Constitution, basic, you're a victim of a crime, this is how it should be handled, it's on video, this is how it should be handled. Why do we have to do all of those things, I think, is the frustration at this moment, and why we're saying we're pushing to still go to Washington, and we want all of you to join us there, because it really is bigger than Shanquella, and it's very close to my heart, obviously, because these are my clients, and you know, I got to learn and know Shanquella after her passing, but it should absolutely, this should be a packed room. This is a national issue. Anyone could go on vacation. Anyone could go on vacation with a group of people with malintent and be hurt, and then the people can come back and say, we're on base. We're okay. FBI isn't going to get us. We're fine. That should not be the case.
Can you be more specific about when you're saying that you're going to go to Washington, like what your next steps are?
Oh, sure. On May 19th, we're going to go to Washington, and we're going to march to the Department of State. Yes.
I just wanted to clarify. So, you said that the FBI told you that they had conducted interviews with people who are on their trip with Shanquella?
Right.
Did they say how many people?
How many people that, no. No.
With people.
Right. They said that they interviewed people that were the travel mates, and that they interviewed people who were in the house, and that they were in communication with Mexican authorities. Which is why I say, well, if you're in communication with them and there's an error in the process, like they're having a problem, like they say, okay, well, we can't bring an investigation because X, Y, Z, right? Whatever they put into their inputs can't give the output that we're requesting, then they should be able to have that conversation.
And were there any other pieces of the investigation beyond the autopsy and the interviews with people who were, I guess, on the trip that the FBI was supposed to do?
Not that you were advised of.
So the investigation kind of comprised of those two pieces?
Yeah. It comprised of them doing the autopsy after the body had already been embalmed, and they advised that they spoke to witnesses. So that's all we got. Yes.
Rob, I want to Rob is that covering the case.
Oh, okay.
What can we do to help in this case?
Yeah, I think being present is the most important thing. I think this case came from social media and from people saying this is not enough. I think most importantly is if you are going to share information on the case, please make sure it's factual information, because that actually hurts the family. And it hurts the case, because then U.S. authorities are allowed to say, well, we heard this, or we heard that, or this is that, or it's not a real case, it's an internet hoax, or whatever the case may be, which can set the case back. So if sharing information on the case, keeping Shanquella's name in the media is super important, but it's super important to attach it to actual factual information, so that we're not hurting the family and we're not hurting the case.
My question is for Shanquella's mom and dad and family. I'm sure this has been really hard for them since this happened last year. With the news today, emotionally, how are they? They haven't had time to be worried about their emotional state and everything that goes through after grieving for their daughter and now pushing for justice.
Sure, and I opened with it, which is they're extremely disappointed, as anyone would be in that situation, but they're not being deterred by it, because they understand that they've had to carve their own path from the beginning, and so they're disappointed in this moment, but understand that more work has to be done.
So just briefly going back to my question about the march on May 19th.
Mm-hmm.
So once you issue this information, that's a special date, is that correct? So what comes after, once you complete the march, you get to where you're going, the overall goal?
Well, the issue is we won't be there on May 19th if we can get a high level of diplomatic intervention before then. If the communication or the alleged missing piece can be completed before then we won't be there. But if not, we will be there and we'll be demanding it, because it cannot be that someone can go overseas and commit a crime against a U.S. citizen and come back and not be affected in any way. There isn't any reason. It doesn't make sense. We all saw it on video.
So the Department of Justice saying they're not going to prosecute. Do you think that like the White House officials are being open to meeting with you guys? Do you like like where do you think that's going to be able to happen?
I think that they should be, because of what I've been saying and what the family is saying, which is Shanquella's case is unique, but it's not without precedent and protocol. And it makes it more apparent, all of the hoops and the things that they've had to go through, that there's two systems happening. Because why, right? It doesn't make sense. And so I think they should be open to it. I think all U.S. citizens should be open to us having that meeting and having that discussion and figuring out how we get to the bottom of something like this. Okay. All done. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Pastor.
Yes, everyone. That's Shanquella Robinson's family there. This is the live press conference with their attorney. It's unfortunate that the federal government has elected not to press charges. We encourage everyone to contact the White House on their website and demand justice for Shanquella Robinson. It's unfortunate, but they must press on. They're pressing on. They're not giving up, and neither should we. So we thank you all for tuning in to Save News TV. We brought you the live press conference of Shanquella Robinson's case. And as you notice, as a journalist, there was not a lot of press there. So it's important to keep this alive on social media. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share this video, share it, share it, share it. Encourage everyone you know to go to the White House website and fill out that contact information and demand justice for Shanquella. Go on the White House Twitter, Instagram, Facebook pages, make comments, go everywhere. The FBI page, social media pages, go to their pages, make comments, tell them that you want justice for Shanquella Robinson. Again, go to the White House, but most importantly, first and foremost, go to the whitehouse.gov/contact page, fill that out, request justice for Shanquella. Then go to all the social media sites of the White House, the FBI, the Justice Department, and then start making comments demanding justice for Shanquella. And it's the only way it's going to happen is if we continue this on social media and continue to have your voices being heard. Say it over and over again. Do not let it go. Y'all remember the hashtag justice for Shanquella and keep it live. That's the only way it's gotten that far as it's gotten. Again, the United States federal government said they are not pursuing charges. So then it must go to a higher level. On May 18th, Shanquella Robinson's family will be doing a march on Washington. And hopefully something will happen between now and then and they do not march. But either way, we ask you all to continue to let your voices be heard Justice for Shanquella, hashtag everywhere. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to Save News TV. You all have a very blessed day, and justice for Shaquella.